I apologize, Tom. Is it possible for you to introduce the meeting again?
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Board meeting, July 1st, 2020. My name is Tom Roach. I serve as chairman of the Yarmouth Planning Board. I will begin by taking a roll call for a quorum. Chris Vincent? Chris Vincent?
Hang on, yeah, I'm here.
Liz Hartsgrove?
Present.
Lee Rowley?
Here.
Joanne Crowley?
Here.
Tom Barron?
He's still not here yet.
Okay. Again, we have a quorum. Do you want to continue?
I think we should.
With the quorum present, I will now call the meeting to order. I will ask the moderator to explain how the remote participation will work before proceeding. Kathy?
Thank you. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 23rd order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Planning Board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching via this virtual meeting or now live feed on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel. You may also listen to the meeting by dialing into the number provided on the notice of the meeting. We will also post a recording of the meeting on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel as soon as we are able. Please be patient as we work through any technological difficulties. For all meetings, all audience participants enter the meeting muted. Participants will be unmuted when called upon by the chair or moderator to speak. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself to avoid unnecessary background noise. Do not use speakerphone or Bluetooth devices when speaking. All votes will be roll call votes. For applicants and presenters, applicants can use the raise hand button or the press *9 on their phone to identify themselves to the chair. The moderator will unmute applicants when they're called upon to speak during their portion of the agenda. Applicants shall identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation. Applications or presentations provided by the applicant will be displayed in the virtual meeting by the moderator, or for larger projects, temporary panelist capabilities will be given to the presenters to share their screen while giving their presentation. Regarding public comment, none of the items on the agenda this evening are public hearings that require a designated public comment period. However, public comment can be taken at the discretion of the chair. Members of the public may request to speak by selecting the raise hand button or *9 on their phone and waiting for the chair to call on them to speak. As an alternative to making comments via the online audio or phone, you may also submit comments to the moderator via the virtual meeting chat function. To do this, click on the chat icon and type your message. When prompted, the moderator will read comments and questions into the record. Members of the public recognized by the chair are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record and then provide their comment. I will now hand the meeting back to the chairman.
Thank you, Kathy. Do you have comments before I start reading the text?
I've received no written comments on this project.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the Village Center Overlay District VCOD Site Plan Review, Special Permit 2020-1A and Special Permit 2020-1B. The applicant, Wise Living Development LLC, owners, Maslin LLC, 834 Main Street Realty Trust, and Baker Frank LLC, South Yarmouth Wise Living Retirement Community Project, 822 and 834 Route 28, and 30 Frank Baker Road, South Yarmouth. Assessors map 33, parcel 70-1, assessors map 41/parcel 12, and assessors map 41, parcel 11.1. Zoning districts B2, HMOD 1, Road, VCOD, and VC2. The applicant is proposing the redevelopment of section 414 Village Center Overlay District on 3 parcels totaling approximately 6.9 acres. Formal site plan review, VCOD projects is done through the planning board and duly posted public meeting. The applicant is proposing amendments to the previously reviewed project VCOD 2020-1, subject to include redevelopment of Cape Cod Irish Village Hotel, 822 Route 28 from 128 hotel rooms to 120 unit Wise Living retirement community with senior housing and common dining facility, outdoor pool, as well as the leased medical complex. Exercise, rehab, and waiting pool facilities upgrades to the building facade and parking area. The existing commercial property at 834 Route 28 will be upgraded and some building modifications and parking lot improvements. Existing septic and drainage systems will be used. 30 Frank Baker Road will remain vacant in its natural state. The proposed amendments include revisions of the facades on both buildings to add additional building modulation, along with corresponding minor site modifications. Two options are being proposed: one, to reduce the amount of zoning relief needed, option A, number 2020-1A, and one that proposes to eliminate the need for any further zoning relief, option B, 2020-1B. Attorney Singer, I would like to ask you at this time to identify yourself along with your applicant, and please give us an update.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Andrew Singer. I'm an attorney in Dennisport here on behalf of the applicant, Christopher Wise and Jack Hines, who both should be on the line. With me on the screen is Kieran Healy, who will be presenting tonight as well. I just wanted to give you a quick overview, and then Kieran will go over the plans. As you did read, we had them before you. You're very familiar with the project. When we went to the Board of Appeals for the design relief for the two buildings, the existing buildings, there were some concerns, and so we regrouped, and we have proposed before you, which Kieran will discuss, two options, as you noted. Option A requires special permit relief for the small 834 Route 28 building. It will still also require a little bit of variance relief for the middle and rear back sides of the 822 Route 28 building. We did give you a project benefits list describing the reasons why the applicants are interested in option A. We have applied to the Board of Appeals for option A because it does require relief. That meeting will be later in July. In case that is not successful and to keep the project moving forward, we are asking you to also review and approve option B. Kieran will go through both of those. Option B does not require zoning relief. We did review both options with the Design Review Committee last week, I think it was, and they approved, made recommendations on both options. They as well preferred option A. And so what I will turn it over to Kieran now to go, if we can go through option A, and then if that is what the chair would like, we can go right into option B, or we can discuss questions. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We are now looking at option A. We have added different components to the building to comply, and we are looking for relief on some components of the building. On the screen, I have in front of you the front portion of the building, and we are looking to add in this entranceway on the westerly side of the drawing. It's actually the west side as you look at it from the street. In this upper area, we are also adding a small bump out in this area right here, as this length of the building is more than the 50 feet allowed. This will break up and give us modulation. And similarly, on this side of the building, this was longer than 50 feet. So we are proposing a handicapped accessible ramp in this section that will also break up the modulation. These three additions are proposed on both option A and option B. What we are looking for on option A, as far as relief, is on the east side and the west elevations. Actually, I believe we have This is the east and west elevation. What we're proposing is a gable. Basically, every 2 sets of rooms. Right now, there is a concrete wall that runs along this point right here on the building and runs over to this point along here on the building. That's consistent along the entire length of the building. So for every 2 rooms that exist right now, we're proposing this gable that will break up the modulation, then an open porch area, and then this gable up here that will break up the modulation. The relief we're looking for on this is that this is a roofed area with gable and dormer, sorry, not dormer, cupola added in every 2 sets of rooms, but it is not enclosed. You will see on option B that how this is enclosed. So that is the relief we're looking for on the main building. We will be building all of these items, the gable, the additional roof, the cupola, and these new rails along the bottom side here. Will all be constructed on both options. On the east side, it is similarly broken up with the same set of gables every 2 sets of rooms. On option B, you can see that the front area is similar, breaking up the building to make sure we meet modulation requirement. The dormers, I'm sorry, here, I'm just taking a minute to get down to this. This is the front of the building, the south elevation, and here is the one that's required to make sure that we meet that breakup every 50 feet. You can see here, this is the partial east elevation, and this is extremely similar to what we showed you in option A. It's got the same cupola, it's got the same gable, it's got the same portion of roof right here. The only difference is that the walls are bumped out to include these porches that exist today. This would make it compliant. Option A, because these are opened, even though the roof is over them, it's not compliant, and that's one of the reasons we need the relief. So that's the buildings for 822. This is the portion right here that will be breaking up that side of the building. I just have to get out of this and get into a drawing. I'm sorry.
Kieran, maybe before you switch to the other building, we could ask if the board members have any questions about 822, and we could then jump to the other building.
Okay.
Yeah, any questions from the board? Kathy, any comments?
I haven't received any comments, and I don't have any comments other than what was stated for potential suggestions on motions in my memo.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Continue.
On building 834, this portion of the building right here is a bump out to include the 2 steps. This will have the modulation required to break up the building as it is longer than the 50 feet. This basically will encompass both doors that are on the side of the building right now. As mentioned earlier, we moving the driveway further off the building so that the sidewalk will be accessible straight over the back. The relief we're looking for in this is to propose a 5x11 bump out on the building. This will require a special permit that Andrew had mentioned earlier because it is less than 25 feet sideline. But the option E The only difference is that this bumps into the building, and it just, because of the way the building is made out, it's a very difficult proposition to put into the building. So this would be the proposed scenario of the fellow of the scenario. We are less than 50 feet along the face of the meet that particular population. Other than that, the building would comply. I'm just having some difficulty with my architectural plans for 834 right now. I don't know, Kathy, if you want to bring those up just to show the difference.
Okay. Questions from the board?
This is what I had sent to you guys, highlighting the differences between the two options.
Right.
So this is option A, Kieran. It's just showing that this is the same on both option A and B, and this is the difference. And then going on option B, this is where it's indented with this roof over on the top.
So it's based on that, you can see that there's very little architectural difference as you see the building. Very similar. It's just one is enclosed and one is, excuse me, one is bumped in and one is bumped out to break up the linear distance along the building. And other than that, Andrew and I would be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Kathy, do we have any comments from the public or emails?
No, we do not.
Any comments from the principals?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have just one question. Karen, could you just describe again, under option A, the east and west elevations, the change in that gable? I'm looking at the original and trying to get a sense of what A does to, if I were looking at it from the roof down, is it bumped out more? I mean, I can't, it's hard to do a three-dimensional for me.
It's not bumped out anymore. What's going on is this section of the gable right here is bumped out over the existing porch. The only difference between the two is this is no longer a porch. It's now got a solid wall.
Well, that's B, right? I'm looking at B, or is that A?
This is
A.
This is
It's
A.
A still with the porch.
Yeah. And that's the thing, the difference is so slight from the drawings, it's difficult to even see the difference.
I see. I see. So the wall is bumped out. I guess that's where I was going. So behind that wall, is that just open air storage space?
It will be a porch on option A. On option B, it would be enclosed space, and that's one of the reasons that we're looking for the relief, is that that would need to be heated and insulated and constructed as living space.
Yeah. So on A, which is the preferred, that area could be storage for chairs and the like, and it doesn't have a door or anything to the actual part of the porch that is open.
Well, on option A, there is a door that would allow you to get onto the porch that is open, and that's where the porches remain, shall we say,
Okay.
open to the air. On option B, where it would be enclosed, it would be an interior door access, and there would be no usable space on the second floor outside.
So if I might just add, the whole purpose, one of the big purposes of option A is that the residents would actually have this outdoor area, either as a balcony on the second floor or a porch on the first floor, where they could get more sunlight and air and actually have a little bit of a private area outside. You lose that with option B.
Yeah.
Right, and those things these days are very important.
Absolutely.
On the second floor, does the windows to each room give you access to the porch areas?
There will be access from the interior onto the porch area, but the porch area will no longer be a porch. It will now have an exterior wall that will have glass in it. But
that's option B.
That's option B. On option A, those are the one that we're looking at right now on the upstairs, those are sliding patio doors, so you will have access to the porch.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any more comments? Kathy? Comment?
I don't have any comments. The only thing is in your packets is the actual comments from the design review committee. Because nothing changed with the site, we did not feel it was necessary to go back through site plan review.
Yeah.
And in that, they did make a vote that they preferred option A over option B, mainly because they didn't think that the actual modulation changes were substantial enough to really justify the increase in the cost and the burdensome expenses, the way they phrased it.
Well, like we have said in the past, when we crafted the VCOD bylaw, we were looking at redevelopment and new construction. And I gave the example of Yarmouth Commons, where they had the ability to make that modulation. It looks great, broke down the mass. But with existing buildings, it's extremely expensive. And we want people to come forward, business people, developers, and take advantage of these bylaws that we have been tweaking over the years. So I think that at some point, the planning board in the future is going to have to look at this and realize that it's very difficult if you have an existing building, something like this particular building, that has basic architecture that we're looking for. And imagine the cost relative to making those full modulations. But at this particular time, I'd like to entertain a motion if someone saw fit to bring one forward.
The only suggestion I would make, Tom, is that these are two separate applications, and in the memo, you'll see that there's two motions for each
Exactly.
each application.
Yeah. So we'll act on option one, option A, I should say. And Kathy reminded us that the design review committee was in favor of option A. You have the text that Kathy gave us in regards to the motion for option A and or option B. And that's on page 2 of the notice that we received.
I'll make a motion to approve, Tom.
Okay,
Let's see, option A, BCOD SPR number 2020-1A for the project at 822 and 834 Route 28 and 30 Frank Baker Road as presented at the planning board meeting of July 1st, 2020 is in general compliance with the BCOD design standards with the exception of the building modulation requirements outlined in section 414.8 and the architectural and site design standards for which relief is being sought through the Zoning Board of Appeals and subject to the following conditions. 1, applicant shall adhere to all conditions from the Planning Board BCOD 2020-1 decision dated April 24th, 2020, and the Planning Board decision 115 dated May 27th, 2020.
I'll second
thank you,
that.
Liz. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Tom.
Okay. Any further discussion? None being heard, we'll go for a roll call vote. Tom, we'll start with you.
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Liz,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I would vote yes as well.
You forgot me.
Pardon?
You forgot me.
Joanne,
Joanne,
Oh,
Yes.
Joanne. Oh, you went off the screen. That's why I didn't see it. Joanne, that was a yes, I take
That
it?
was a yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, in regards to option B, you've heard Attorney Singer mention the fact that that would probably behoove them to have that approved as well. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's necessary, Tom, in case they need it as an option,
Exactly.
so they don't come back.
I would move to strike option B entirely.
Okay. Is there a second?
Can we ask for justification before we second
Well, we're going to
that?
have a discussion
Okay.
after a second.
Okay. I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Okay, now discussion.
Tom, can you elaborate why you made that motion?
Yeah, as all of you probably know, for me, this is Groundhog Day all over again.
Right.
Deja vu. We have seen the proposal for Wise Living twice before it went to the zoning board, and because I'm also sitting on zoning, I've seen it a third time there, and now here a fourth time. The original proposal to me was quite adequate. It met all the criteria. The response that it got in its zoning, I think, was improper and excessive, but that's a personal opinion. I think that even though it did come back to design review, there are some good options. There are good. It was a good opportunity to review the overall site plan, and I think that option A more than adequately satisfies the needs for the modification of this building for the Wise Living approach. Option B is less favored by the design review, and I think that's sufficient reason on its own to remove it from consideration.
Mr. Chairman, could I address that?
Go ahead. I was just going to ask you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I appreciate everything Mr. Barron said, and we wholeheartedly agree that option A is the one that we would like, and as I noted, we've applied to the ZBA for it. However, notwithstanding that option B is not as desirable, notwithstanding that option B is going to cost many six figures of additional cost, if the Zoning Board of Appeals does not approve option A, and if you don't approve option B, the project can't move forward. And so what we're asking you to do, as Liz mentioned, is to approve option B as the alternative. We would only have to use it if option A is not approved by the Board of Appeals. If you do not approve option B tonight, and option A is not approved by the Board of Appeals, we have to come back to you for a fifth time for option B, because that's the only project that could be approved without needing Zoning Board of Appeals relief. So we believe that option B is very important, just in case, although we hope we don't need it.
Okay.
Mr. Singer, I believe in belt and suspenders approach, but I think we have beat this entire project to death much too long, and it to the detriment of the client, your client, being able to proceed with the project. I think the project was originally stated was more than adequate. It more than met the overall requirements, It was just that there was a different opinion at zoning that has created this continued subterfuge, which I think should be brought to an end. That's a personal opinion, but mainly because I've been involved on both ends of this.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, as one of the, for lack of a better word, architects of the VCOD, we realized its limitations. We understand how difficult it is to use this in a remodeling scenario. It was really meant to do new construction. So I'm in favor of approving both options. I think it's foolish not to. Why, if we want to redevelop Route 28, even consider that they wouldn't be able to get approved and they have to come back before us again? That to me makes no sense at all. When it's this project, it looks great. I think it's very simple just to approve option A and option B and let the chips fall where they may. Thank you.
To that
Thank you,
point,
Chris.
Chris, there may be a strategy though, where the risk of refusal, if you will, if there's, I think that we give the zoning board of appeals an out. We give them an option to say no without any consequence. If we do just A, which is what everyone wants and seems reasonable, and we understand our limitations on when the VCOD guidelines were developed in the first place, by offering up an option that gives them an out and perhaps puts more. I think not having B approved puts more pressure on them to look seriously at granting the request that the client has asked for. It applies more pressure. By having B, you have a relief valve there that, quite frankly, I think it's time to stop. This is a good project. We've all agreed it's a good project. I would like not to give them an out. I agree with Tom.
So
Mr.
you
Singer,
think
I'd
that,
like you to, if you can, or Kieran, am I talking through my hat here, or?
I don't think you're talking through your hat. I mean, what you're saying has merit. The concern, as any large project, we have multiple things going on at one time. Financing wise, this is trying to take advantage of a tax credit program. The longer it goes without approval, the greater the risk that it can't be financed. And if it can't be financed, then it doesn't matter which option gets approved, the project doesn't go forward. Because of the delays that have happened, just because of what's happened in the world this year, the reason why we're willing to take that risk with option B, and we need the option B, is because if we don't get the ZBA this month and then it's delayed another month or so to come back to you, the risk keeps growing that this project won't be financeable. And that's why we're asking to ask you to both. It is belt and suspenders, as Mr. Barron said, absolutely. But because time has gone on so long, there's concern about whether the project's going to be able to go forward financially with the tax credit program. And we're trying to really take advantage of that because that's a really positive aspect for the town and for the project.
Well, that satisfies my concern then, that you and your client are completely comfortable, primarily because of the financing timetable that you're under, and you're working under, and that for sure is the greatest risk to this project. It's all about the money. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for
Absolutely.
the clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I agree 100%. I don't think this is the right avenue or venue for us to have that discussion, or almost like a boxing match with the ZBA. I think that's something that we need to clean up in a different avenue and not have this applicant in the middle of it.
Exactly.
So I think they the applicant would not have brought in that second option if they weren't comfortable with that alternative, even though that's not what they want. But that is something that they will go forward just to get the project up and running. And I agree. I think this is the time for us to help them out. They're asking for us to do it. They didn't say no. It's also in the design review committee's motion that they applied for or accepted both options as acceptable. And I think we just need to move forward with the second, with accepting the second vote.
Tom, you had a motion on the floor?
Yes, this discussion has been very good. I'm willing to yield on the motion. I can understand Mr. Singer's clarification, and like as I said, I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Tom. Liz, would you withdraw your second?
Will do. Withdrawn.
Okay. Would
Can I
someone
just-
like to
can
make
I-
a motion on?
Can I just make a
option B?
point of order, Tom?
Go ahead.
You can't just strike an option that was submitted to the board to make a decision on. It would have had to have been a formal denial of the VCOD site plan review approval, and you would have had to have explained reasons why you were denying it. You can't just strike it and say, well, you're just not going to vote on it. It had to have been a formal denial, or tabling it maybe could have been an option, but you couldn't just say we're striking it from the options. Just
So
to be
we're
clear.
withdrawing it, Kathy? That motion?
But yes, Tom withdrew it and you withdrew your second, so it's not on the table any longer. But I just wanted to be clear that the motion would have needed some amendment or correction if what you really wanted to do was not to allow option.
Right.
But I don't think that that's where we're going. It's just to be clear that it wouldn't have been a removal, it would have been a denial, and reasons why would have needed to have been
Right.
stated.
Okay. So at this time, we'll look for a motion in regards to option B.
I'll make a motion to approve option B, VCOD SPR number 2020-1B for the project at 822 and 834 Route 28 and 30 Frank Baker Road, as presented at the planning board meeting of July 1st, 2020, is in general compliance with the VCOD design standards and subject to the following conditions. Number one, applicant shall adhere to all conditions from the planning board VCOD 2020-1 decision dated April 24th, 2020, and the planning board decision 115 dated May 27th, 2020.
Thank you, Liz. Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call a roll call vote. Chris Vincent,
In favor.
Liz Hartsgrove,
Yes.
Lee Rowley,
Yes.
Joanne Crowley,
Yes,
Tom Barron,
No,
and I vote yes as well.
We thank you very
Hopefully-
much for your time. We appreciate it. We hope we don't have to come back to you again.
No,
on
I
this
know, it
project.
just, it's extremely unfortunate, and we feel bad for you guys, we really do. But the planning board's got some work ahead of it, trying to straighten out this bylaw in the future.
Thank you very much for your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Chairman, thank you, members.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the meeting minutes. June 3rd, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second,
second,
who seconded?
I did.
Okay, Joanne, thank you. Chris Vincent,
Abstain.
Liz Hartsgrove,
Yes.
Lee Rowley,
Yes.
Joanne Crowley,
Yes,
Tom Barron.
yes,
Thank you all.
And
Next
you, Tom?
item is-
And you, Tom?
Pardon me?
And you? Did you
I'm in
vote?
favor as well.
Thank you.
I did it 10, I guess. Board of Appeals agenda decisions.
I've been sending, we haven't had any decisions in quite some time.
No, I know it.
But as Attorney Singer mentioned, they will, I believe, be having a meeting on July 23rd for this project, for the Wise Living project.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just got a notice from Sandy Clark that the next ZBA meeting will be in mid-month, as Kathy said. The first of the month will not be held. There are no other items.
That's unfortunate. Committee updates from board members?
I have nothing, Tom.
Okay. Board member items?
I'm sorry, Tom, I had a committee update.
Okay.
The Community and Economic Development Committee did meet on June 11th. And we discussed various budgeting items, particularly in relation to an allocation, if needed. We talked about this before, of $150,000 from the tourism fund, should the town need to reallocate funding to help out with some budget gaps. Nothing will take place until a formal request is made, but we did agree that we would consider that when it comes. We also talked about the drive-in.
Oh, yeah.
Bit.
Great.
I guess some things have happened on that last night.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And there's an annual allocation that we provide to the Department of Public Works, Jeff Colby, on Route 28 cleanup, where you'll see the weed whackers out there, and that's a seasonal crew. We've agreed to that again. It's a small allocation, and he'll be out there trying to hire some seasonal employees. Again, there's an issue with hiring and getting folks on board, but we did approve that seasonal cleanup of Route 28.
Very good. Thank you. Kathy, correspondence?
Anything that I've been sending you, I did get something in the mail. I haven't had a chance to scan it. Barnstable's doing some zoning with regard to the short-term rentals, and I'll get that out to you.
I saw that, yeah. Staff updates?
I think just to kind of follow up on what Joanne said, the Board of Selectmen last night approved the proposal from Innovations Arts and Entertainment to have a long-term license agreement on the former drive-in site to do drive-in movies and maybe some concerts, all being within vehicles and being transmitted via FM radio versus having any type of amplification. So they're hoping to start and have their first movie on July 10th.
Great.
So keep up, and hopefully lots of people will go, and it'll be a good time, and it will be success. They seem to be a quality promoter who knows
Good.
how to work with the neighborhood and the towns and the different staff to have a quality event production. So we're
That's
very,
great.
very hopeful for that.
Kathy, I have a question. I was working the election yesterday, so I missed the selections meeting. How long is that term for the drive-in? How long is their contract term?
The licenses agreement is through September 6th. And I think they had discussed something about maybe taking, once they get going, and if they see that it's profitable, maybe taking a look at whether they might want to do some shoulder season on the weekends. And so that would be something they'd have to go back to the board for.
Yeah, but you said long-term. What sort of term has been mentioned?
Through September 6th, 2020, this year. So it's really just the summer.
Just this year, but not subsequent years.
No, this was a somewhat unusual circumstance. I think normally if we thought we were gonna have this type of interest in the drive-in site, we would have gone out with a formal RFP for people. But I think this is one of those strange situations where COVID-19 actually created a business opportunity, and we had multiple people who were interested in using it.
Understandable. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Kathy, upcoming meetings, July 17th?
Yeah, I think I meant the 15th. Did I get the date wrong?
Yeah, that's a Friday.
Sorry.
So it is the 15th.
Sorry. It's
problem.
looking like we don't have any business items for that
Right.
particular date. I just did want to, if this might be our last meeting in July, that just to let everyone know that Lee is not going to he wasn't interested in being reappointed. He's enjoyed his time with the planning board, and I'll let him talk, but I just wanted to give him an opportunity to speak if this was going to be his last planning board meeting.
I guess I'm up. I really enjoyed the last 3 years. And I think, number one, the staff is exceptional. Kathy's done a really great job. Being on the board has given me an opportunity to really get to know the town. I've only been in town for 4 years. And town is a complex government operation and a lot of interesting people in it. And sitting on the planning board, I got a chance to really get to know a bunch of great people in the government. And I plan to continue with the Water Resources Advisory Committee and maybe do some other things depending on where we go with the pollution abatement program. But I really appreciate everything, and I really like the people that I've gotten to know. And I can't say enough about all of our public servants, but Kathy is exceptional.
Thank you.
So I thank you all for the opportunity to be on the board.
Well, Lee, I tell you, I feel that it's a mutual feeling by all of us as well. And thank you for your service over the last 3 years.
Now, I would compliment both Lee and Tom on the Water Resources Advisory effort. We finally have a positive vote at town meeting, and yesterday, hopefully, the results of the bond authorization was approved. Lee, the only question I have, your participation in Water Resources is as the designee from planning. Have you been assured that you'd be able to continue in that role?
I haven't had any assurance on that, and I don't know where the planning board wants to go with that. There's probably an opportunity to be a representative in another capacity if the planning board sees fit to have somebody that's an active member of the planning board to be a representative. I'll do it either way. I'm kind of hoping that somewhere along the line, the town is going to move forward and either get going with the DHY or some other form, and either be on the town's as a sewer commissioner or as a representative of Yarmouth on another commission to do that, continue with that work. So, this whole thing with the virus, the COVID-19 has really thrown screwed up the mess a little bit. So, for sure. But I think we on the Water Resources have developed a really good public relations program, and we've educated some people. I'm hopeful that people will understand that this is a really needed item for the town. Cleaning up our water, providing for future opportunities for our commercial areas. And if just looking at if somebody has a problem with their septic system and they have to look at spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to replace that, it's just ridiculous. And on the other hand, you have all this nice commercial areas where you have hotels, motels, and restaurants and so forth that are really not in the wastewater business. They're in the business to do what they do best. So these are opportunities that if Yarmouth doesn't move forward on, we're just going to miss out. So I've explained to Kathy, and I'm in the process of putting a letter to the town administrator to inform them that I think we need to do this, and I'm more than willing to do everything I can to help the town move forward on this issue.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
I think,
Motion
Thank you.
I'm gonna out you too, Tom. Tom has served very long and very hard on the planning board, and has decided not to be reappointed for another 3-year term, although he has agreed very kindly to stay in place through September when we have our actual elections. So he will stay with us until September when we have that. So I cannot thank Tom enough for all of the devotion and the help he's been to me personally throughout all these years that I've been here, with his work on the planning board and the community preservation committee, the Affordable Housing Trust, the DISUC, the RAC. I mean, you're well known for your civic involvement, and it's very, very much appreciated.
Well, thank you so much. And I feel the same as Lee. I really enjoyed working with all the members, past and present, of the planning board. It was a unique bunch of individuals that served the town. And I told you in regards to your perspective, you changed the whole focus of the planning board compared to, I'm thinking back when I was chairman in 2012, when we didn't have a town planner. And it was extremely difficult. And gradually we got things done. But the bottom line is, since you've come, and I think the experience that you have as an engineer, it just brings so much focus to the planning board, because, you know, engineers is plans, and that's what it's about. So again, I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve. But as you get older, you just make other situations relevant. And you guys are all young kids from my perspective, but I enjoyed it. I really did.
Gonna miss you, Tom. I've been with you on this now for, I think, for 12 years. What will we do without you?
Yeah,
It's a big
Yeah.
hole.
long road.
I figured you're going to be around, Tom.
I'll be around.
You'll be coming to some of these meetings.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
One of the things is we got to get some changes on that VCO8 bylaw going. We're going to be facing this again before too long. Or you guys will. Their motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Second.
All those in favor, roll call. Let's see, Liz,
Aye.
Joanne, I don't have my paperwork.
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
think I got every, Joanne, yeah.
Yep,
Lee?
you
And
got,
myself, yes, as well.
I say yes.
You said yes, okay. Very good. Good night, everyone.
Happy
Thank
4th
you,
of July,
everyone.
everybody.
Happy Fourth.
Thanks, Tom.
Happy Fourth.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
thanks, Kathy.
Yes, thank you.